and welcome viewers. Thank you for tuning in to this second episode of S.A.L.T, Sharing and Learning Together. This is a combined class project of Master of Divinity second year and Master of Arts in Clinical Counseling first year, both of course students of Oriental Theological Seminary. This is a part of our learning journey under the course An Introduction to Pastoral Care and Counseling. We, the participants, are all students, and this video should be treated for educational and awareness purposes. My name is Mihimo Apon, and I'll be hosting this episode on anxiety. Well, when we talk about anxiety, we have all experienced and continue to experience anxiety, of course in different intensity. It is a prevalent mental health concern and affects individuals across all walks of life, spanning across different age spectrum. It is not the same as worry, but anxiety can manifest as persistent fear, tension, and apprehension that can significantly impair normal daily functioning. In today's discussion, we will examine the nature of anxiety, some of its impacts, and approaches to management and healing. So without further ado, let us begin the discussion. But let me introduce the people I have with me. We have Mr. M.Div-2 Jemu, doing his first year in Master of Arts in Clinical Counseling. We have Ms. Limi Yeptomi doing her second year in Master of Divinity. And of course, we have Mr. Jessica Letzika doing his second year in Master of Divinity. Okay, so to begin the discussion, as I stated earlier, we all go through anxious moments in life. So given the fact that we are all anxious about something in our daily lives, at what level does anxiety becomes a problem? And what are some common symptoms of anxiety disorder?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for the question. To be honest, being here today in this panel talk and discussion also, I'm feeling nervous and I'm feeling anxious. So that's also a part of anxiety actually. So, but if I had to put it, in general term, so I'm going to give a set of examples. For example, I am asked to lead the worship, and then which I have never done before. So before I go up the stage, I start feeling anxiousness in my heart, and not only in my heart, but I start having this gastrointestinal symptoms. It's like I want to go for a toilet or I want to poop. It's like mixture of everything. And then not only that, I start thinking about oh my God, how I'm going to lead these people or congregation. All these thoughts, it automatically, unconsciously comes in our mind. So that becomes a part of anxiety. And not only that, but if we look in the secular side also, when we're going to give presentation to the class, so we are worried about if the professor is going to accept my presentation or not. So fear and worry also becomes a part of anxiety. So now, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes because of this anxiousness or sometimes because of this nervousness and worry, it becomes too extreme sometimes. So at that time, it affects our daily life. So how does it affect our daily life is because it starts affecting to the people near us, or it starts affecting my work life, my education life, my academic life, all that. So that becomes a problem in our daily life. So now, various symptoms of anxiety disorder that we are going to look upon. Of course, anxiety disorders, it comes with various variety of symptoms, but let me just name a few common anxiety disorders. That is generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, social anxiety disorder. That is, by name itself only, we will know that social anxiety disorder is socializing, and then when we mingle with people or something, we get anxious because we are not used to it, especially for introverts and stuff. So, and also for the generalized anxiety, but each of these anxiety disorder have different symptoms. For example, panic anxiety disorder, our chest, it starts feeling numb, or it starts to tighten, and that's when we run out of breath, or we feel like we can't breathe at some moment, or like at some situation that we're going to face, like that. And then and I've also mentioned some symptoms earlier about gastrointestinal symptoms, or like about nauseousness, that all comes under generalized anxiety disorder. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Limi, for so eloquently clarifying to us the symptoms and also the problems that anxiety can create in our daily lives. Shifting the gears a little bit, we all believe in the Bible, and of course we know that people who lived in the Bible were also very much normal human beings, including the 12 disciples of Jesus. And I'm sure that being very human, they must also have gone through some anxious moments in their own time, in their own way. So is there any references, or for that matter, does the Bible talk about anxiety in any way?
Thank you for having us, and I think that's a very beautiful question and an important question as well. So if we look in the Bible, from New Testament, in Philippians, in the book of Philippians chapter 4 verse 6 and 7, it talks about how we are not to be anxious, but in everything we are supposed to go before the Lord with our prayers, our petition, with thanksgiving, and that's how we approach God. That's how the book of Philippians encourages us. And also, as humans, we have the tendency, when we face challenges or struggles, we are always bound to depend on ourselves, or we are supposed, we have this tendency to detach ourselves from God. So on that line, the book of 1 Peter, it talks about how we should cast our anxiety on Him, because He cares for us. I think the word itself, He cares for us, that is very comforting, and we are supposed to be, not supposed, but we are to be looking forward to that. And in Christian, as a Christian, many of us sometimes go overboard. We think that it's not helping, it's just words. But when we look deeper, God is already giving us an assurance. And even in the book of Isaiah, it talks about, Isaiah chapter 41 verse 10, it talks about not to be anxious, but because He is the Lord and He's going to be taking care of us. So that is the promise He has. And even from the book of Matthew, chapter 6 verse 25 and following, it talks about how not to worry what to eat, what to drink, what to dress, or not to worry about tomorrow. And He goes on to say about He cares even for the birds, that the birds are flying over, they don't store, but God cares for them, and God feeds even the birds. So we are more valuable, and God holds us very precious. That is how God gives His assurance. And as someone who goes through struggles, even me, I have gone through struggles, and in that time I have never found peace. And whenever I go before God through prayers, through meditation, and if I find difficulty in enabling myself to practice those kind of things, I look for support systems, and that is the person who I trust. That is how I get my source, my help from God and from the people that I trust. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benwachu Chemu. Listening to you, I think it's quite assuring for all of us, and including our viewers back at home, to know that God really cares for us, and that we have somebody we can really turn to when we are anxious, or when we have feelings of anxiety. Shifting the conversation again, we are living today in a very digital world, and all of us are consuming information left and right without any filter per se. In fact, there is not an area in our life, I think, where social media has not influenced or touched. So having said that, what role or how does social media in today's world shape our perception and anxiety?
Talking about social media, it has helped us in many ways, and it has impacted us and is still impacting us in many ways. So one thing, the positive side would be how many influencers and many content creators, they have helped the people to destigmatize about mental health, and specifically we are dealing on anxiety. So they are making sure that anxiety is not a weakness, or it's not a sin, or it's not something that is extraordinary, but it's something that we all human beings, we go through. And that's how they through social media, you can see from Instagram reels and from YouTube and anywhere we get this source, we get this information about anxiety, and we are already made aware. And that's how in our present society, people are also becoming more aware of what it is, and the youngsters are also becoming more open towards why it is, and then they are also beginning to share their own experiences, their struggles. That's how it's coming up. And there's a flip side to it also, and if we look that it would prolong, or it would bring to a place where it's becoming a danger as well. So why I say danger would bring to my focus on where this anxiety, not specifically anxiety, but how the media is pressuring the people, pressuring the young ones. You can see how youngsters are very engaged, or very so much engrossed in looking for likes, comments, and that's how they have this pressure. How many likes I'm getting, or what's the comment they're giving, and that's how where things gets messed up. By saying that if they do not get comments to their likings, there are negative comments, obviously many, and then we are also seeing for through, she's also doing on that, like where she is commenting on haters comment, that kind of thing. Many things are coming out like that. Those are just an examples, but those kind of things can this is not specifically, I'm not saying a senior is going through something like that. So but looking in that way, it gives pressure to the young ones, and it also brings the people, the young ones, or the people who are engaged in social media too much. They begin to isolate themselves also, and that's when isolation becomes anxiety becomes, and then Limi talks about social phobia, that kind of thing. It begins to turn up. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah. One last thing about how Imli Sanen Jamir, in one of his article in which was posted in Morong Express, titled as how anxiety becomes content. I think that was very catching, because we people, the people in his article, he talks about how social media, through social media, it's impacting, but at the same time, people are beginning to use it as for their own source. There's no genuinity in providing the real content and the meaning of what anxiety is. They are using it to promote themselves. That's how it's being portrayed. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
I also want to supplement a little bit on that. So, as we all know, social media is also have their pros and cons of it. But one thing I would also like to state and share is I want to bring an example of my father. So, for him or his generation, they don't even know, how to use touch phone or touch screen phone like that. So when he got one for himself, I taught him, how to dial the phone, or like how to even do video call. So that kind of thing. And then of course, like, he doesn't use Instagram or this and that, but through YouTube, like, in his generation, they doesn't even know about anxiety. What is anxiety also? Of course, they do feel anxious, this and that, but they don't know the specific term about, feeling anxiety, feeling worry or nervousness about things like that. So through when I taught him how to use, YouTube Shorts so that, at night he can relax and watch sometime. So at that time, what he came across was, about mental health and this and that. So he became very interested in it. And at night, he always scrolls and watch. And he always call me up and tell me, I think even Mesh should go counseling once, So just like that, the looking at the bright side of social media, it's helping the older generation too, not just the younger generation. So it's helping them educate more on these kind of things. And not only in their generation, but also in churches now. We are having our own very professional counselor in the churches also, that can help people like that. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much for walking us through the pros and the cons of social media. Social media, like everything else in this world, has its good and bad, its pros and cons. But I think it's going a long way in sensitizing people about, like Limi mentioned, even the older generation, about feelings such as anxiety that they may have gone through but we're not aware of at the moment. But at the same time, it calls for utmost discretion, when we process information that is available over social media platforms, because not everything may seem to be what it actually is. On the inside, people may just be posting videos, like you have clearly mentioned, for content. Bringing the conversation closer at home, do you think, and of course we hardly talk about these things in our society, but do you think this social anxiety disorder, or for that matter anxiety disorder, is prevalent in our Nagaland today? And what are the key contributing factors towards it?
Yes, it is relevant in our context today because I see that anxiety has become more common in Nagaland, especially among our youths. So one major factor is academic pressure. So here students are expected to perform well in their exams and in their academics. So let's take an example of a civil aspirant. A civil aspirant feel more anxious when they see their friends clear the exam, making them feel more afraid of failure and uncertain about their future. Another factor is lack of job opportunities in Nagaland. Unemployment is also one of the leading factors in causing anxiety disorder. Unemployment has left many young people uncertain, worried, and insecure about the future. Alongside this, financial struggle and comparison with others also create anxiety. People who do not have enough money to meet their needs tend to avoid social gatherings because they are afraid of being judged, being looked down, or being compared with others who are financially better. So this feeling of being left behind also create anxiety. So finally, high family and social expectation. This also played a significant role in causing anxiety. So in our culture, there is a strong pressure to maintain good reputation in our society. So family expect young people to behave well, achieve success, and bring pride to the family. So this constant need to look good in front of the society can be very overwhelming to many young people. So these are some major problems and factors that I want to point out.
Thank you for reminding us that anxiety is not something strange in Nagaland, but that it's happening around us. And it's sad to think that, as we have talked earlier, that we are not talking about it, and I think that's the reason why so many young people are not seeking help or trying to bear the burden of, like you have clearly mentioned, the cultural, the social, and the family expectations, and they're trying to silently bear the burden of all this expectation that has been put on them. And I think the factors that you have mentioned can be a great source of awareness even for people listening at home. We can try to come up with ways to help one another. And as we have already mentioned, it's a scary and a sad thought that so many young people are living with this anxiety disorder, and they're going through this pain and burden silently. But the good news is there's always help, and there's always a solution. There are always ways to help, especially people like people with anxiety disorders, find hope and meaning in their life, and also healthy ways to cope up with this feeling that they go through. whenever they're put under pressure. So, what are some of the ways that we as ministers or as caregivers, or for that matter, if they approach us for help, what are some of the ways that we can effectively help them?
So you see, as a pastor, in counseling, sometimes we also have our limitations. But of course, like, I'm not generalizing every pastors here, because most of, like, some of the pastors, they are very well trained and equipped in this area of counseling like that. But sometimes when we have our limitations, when a client or like when a counselee comes with very extreme anxiety or like, very extreme anxiety problems, at that time what we can do is we can apply a referral method. So we can, okay, of course, but that only applies only if the client or the counselee like agrees, and is willing to help. So at that time, we can refer them to a very professional therapist or psychiatrist, because medications, it helps for extreme anxiety people. But that is only possible if they agree. But of course, we also have to ensure our client and our counselee that, we are always there for them. And, if they need our help and support anytime, even in prayers, or, the things that they want to hear, even through talking. So we can bring those calmness, those peaceness to them. And in that way, we can extend our help to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Limi, so much for highlighting those helpful ways for us. I think, like you have mentioned, we are limited, and also we most of us, like in professional training, to really help somebody with serious anxiety disorders. And I think the way you've put it, that's very clear, referring to someone who has been properly trained to handle issues like that. I think that goes a long way to really help people deal with their anxiety disorders. With that, we are coming to the end of our discussion, but we know there are many people out there, including us, as we have already very clearly mentioned in the beginning of our talk, that we all go through some anxious moment in life. But for some people, it's really it's a big problem for them. So, to anyone struggling out there with anxiety disorders, what one word of encouragement would you like to convey?
I want to convey that if you are struggling with anxiety, I want you to know that you are not alone in this. Having anxiety doesn't mean you are weak or less of a Christian. God loves you. He knows your struggles and He understands your struggles. So do not be afraid to share your burdens to God, and do not be afraid to seek help and support from others. Take your time, one step at a time, and remember, there is hope and healing in Christ.
So to anyone, watching, having anxiety, I just want to encourage you, please, feel free to approach people if you're in need of help, and always remember, God helps those who help themselves.
If you are watching this, the people who are going through hard times, and if you are listening to this, I just want to convey a message that going through anxiety doesn't mean you are a failure before God. Going through anxiety doesn't mean you are alone. Remember that you are being valued, and that God loves you. And even though you are going through these struggles, sometimes we feel that God is silent, but know that God is with you. From the book of Isaiah, chapter 41, verse 10, where it says, "Do not fear, for I am your God. Do not be dismayed, for I am with you." And that He will strengthen us, and He will walk along with us. With that assurance, I want to convey that as you look forward, as you struggle, don't leave yourself out, but be open and don't be afraid to seek for help. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for the thoughtful and powerful messages. I hope your messages will be a source of blessing to somebody who needs to hear it out there. Remember, we all feel anxious sometimes, but when it becomes overwhelming, it's always important, and there's no shame in reaching out for help. You are not alone in this journey. Thank you for joining us today. Once again, I'm Mihimo Apon, and this is the second episode of S.A.L.T. Take care until the next time.